Welcome to eVision Live, brought to you from the eVision Institute with Dr. Alexandra Kleeberg
and Dietrich Busaka. Welcome to your happy, healthy, fulfilled life.
Our topic of the month is the inner child. And we already started with the inner child 1, where we discussed all the inner child from the conception till birth. Today, inner child 2, Reinvent yourself. In between, we had a wonderful episode about touching, which also we thought could be part of this topic of the inner child.
And the intelligence of skin. It's
Yes.
our first organ.
Yeah, because touching, and this has a lot to do with the inner child. And what actually, maybe before we go into the topics, what is the inner child?
The inner child at first is a concept. There is no inner child in a way. It's a symbol for those parts of us which we haven't lived in our childhood.
Okay.
And for example, we live in an educational system in Germany and I think in most parts of the world where we don't support that children live their authenticity, but they are educated to be in a certain way, to be successful, to align with society, to suppress emotions, to be rational, and so forth. So there is a lot of emotions left on the way. They're left behind, they're suppressed, and people become rational sometimes at an age of 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. In Germany, when a child goes to school, after a year, it has a different mindset, I would say, than in kindergarten. It's less playful, it's more rational, it's oriented on success and perfection. And so there are a lot of things left on the way, which are suppressed, and they are put together in what we call the inner child. And when I do imaginations on the inner child, I imagine there is a child in a dark corner of our soul which likes to live, which likes to have emotions, which likes to be curious and adventurous. And the imagination goes that we contact this inner child and support it to let go all of the suppressed emotions, because the inner child is a very emotional, vital part of us.
So let's see, today we will discuss how can I free my inner child? Then we are approaching Christmas, and even if not everybody looking here, following us will be Christian, we think that the Christmas story can really has something to do with the inner child. If we can learn something from it, even if we don't believe into Christianity, if we have something other where we believe in, this may nevertheless be interesting, as well as also almost any culture, where we said last time, has a story about something, about a holy child or some beloved child. And what is also, there is the intimate look. This has also something to do with the inner child. We will discuss that also. So this is what you're going to expect. And stay to the very end, because we're going to tell you what we have for 2 special gifts for you that we will broadcast in the 2 following weeks. So, Alexandra, how can we free our inner child?
So the inner child is a concept of suppressed emotion during childhood or maybe youth. And so in the imaginations I give to people, we contact this inner child in this dark room of our soul, and we keep it close, and we encourage it to let go of all the emotions of anxiety, of helplessness, of fear, of anger, of rage, of sadness. So emotion comes from Latin, and it means to move something out. And we are in a culture that moves emotions in and sticks it in one part of the body tightly. So it's just the way around. But the word emotion has a deep wisdom. Emotions are there to move them out. So we sort of hold this inner child and rock it and encourage it and say, let all your fear out. Just shake or cry. Let all your anger, suppressed anger out, your rage, and you let it just scream and shout. So it all comes out. And then maybe tears come, and we just stick to the inner child and encourage it to let go of all the suppressed emotions.
Actually, you have a wonderful video on that in YouTube about letting go
of emotion.
Yes, so if you look, we can maybe give the link down on Alex, or you just go to YouTube, Alexandra Kleeberg channel, and you will find it.
I think it's called How to Deal with All the Emotions.
Yes.
And emotions have to be moved out.
Yeah.
And this video is on rage, on sadness, and on thankfulness. So it has different phases on how to release emotions. So this is very important. And when we talk about childhood trauma, most of the time there are two traumas in once. The first trauma is the real trauma, something very bad, terrible happened to that child. And the second trauma is that this child couldn't talk about it, couldn't let go of the emotions. And sometimes the first trauma sticks in the body for centuries, so to say, for decades, of course.
Yeah.
Sometimes even for centuries, because it couldn't be put into words, and there is no reliable person around who the child could trust. So this is a second trauma, and this is as serious as the first one. If you have a helping hand and helping person and empathetic environment, then the first trauma can be released quite easily, in quote, quite easily. But it's you can release it, and the child can come back to balance within months or years. But if there is no trustful environment, it sticks to itself, and it goes on for years and for decades. I have some traumatized children in my groups. They are now 70 or in their 80s, and they've never talked about the war traumas they have lived through. Never. They were ashamed, they didn't know how to call it, they didn't know if it was real, and mother was busy and father was busy. So they kept it into their soul and into their body for 60, 70 years. And so you go back to this inner child and you soothe it, you caress it, you support it to let go of emotions. Very important. Because only afterwards it's easier to reinvent your history, your life history. When you're full of emotion, then the new images, they don't find the way into the body. So it's really important to just get clear about that first, clear of emotions, and then when you're free of that, and you have freed the inner child of that, you can start reinventing your life history.
Wow. Yeah, we already talked about this, that we could rewrite, let's see, our conception, the pregnancy of our mom with us. But really, is this possible to rewrite your life?
Yes and no. It is a memory we have, and sometimes those memories are very painful. And there is this psychological tradition on positive affirmations, and most of the time they are good, they are all right, but they need to really deepen down into the body.
They have to be really embodied.
They have to be embodied. And
what does this mean? What does it mean?
I believe that we had experiences at a childhood or youth, which might be traumatic, which might be just educational, but still we suppressed a lot of emotion. And I believe that if you have an experience, you can rewrite it with another experience and not with another sentence.
Okay.
So I think
you really need to experience it in order to...
Yes. If you have experienced a traumatic relationship, I don't know, to your father, to your mother, then you just don't not only need new affirmations, but new experiences. And this means you need maybe a new dad, a new mom. Maybe you need your mom and your dad in the way they could have been if they would have known how to be a good mother and a good father, because sometimes traumas go back in over generations. So you really need to experience something new. And experience means that you just don't think of a sentence, but experience is combined with the body, that you feel it from all your five senses, that you hear it, you see it, you touch it, you feel it, you smell it.
Can you give
You
examples?
taste it.
So let you say it smells like the most beautiful, tasty vanilla cookie.
Yes,
Or
for
it's,
example, you have an affirmation with which you like to work, which means you're good enough. This is an affirmation. It makes sense, but if you really want to deepen it into the body, you need an experience. Then you need to create yourself, maybe a mother or a father or whatever, and you need a situation where you hear it and where you see that the mother speaks it, where you see the movement of her lips, where you might smell the rose fragrance of her perfume,
Okay.
where you feel touched because she touches you.
Yeah.
So you have to make it a 5-dimensional sensual experience.
Okay.
And then the body knows that this is true. Truth is what you have experienced, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have experienced it, you don't know whether it's true for you or not.
Yeah.
So you really create a situation around it which you can hear, which you can see, which you can smell, which you can taste, and which you can feel.
Yeah.
And then you let this experience flood into your body, your feet, your legs, your trunk, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, and you know it becomes real. That's how you materialize by experience.
Okay. So
And if you have maybe 100 times of a traumatic experience and you have 200 times of this good experience, after a while and after releasing all the emotions suppressed in this first trauma, then you can rewrite it and you imagine it, experience it over and over and over again, that this new family holds you, rocks you, understands you, and is empathetic to you.
So the bad traumatic experience is overwritten in our brains actually by this new experience. Even it was not real, but it was imagined. But then the brain cannot distinguish between what reality
Not
and
really,
imagination.
Yes. And this is the brilliance of our brain.
So it takes it for real and can overwrite it. This is brilliant.
Yes,
This is
that's
brilliant.
how our brain works, and that this is our chance
Yeah.
for a good, healthy, fulfilled future. And the Christmas story is very good for that, because it's one of the very few old ancient stories where the child is the hero.
Yes, the child is a hero. It was expected, it was praised, it was wanted.
Praised, and the stars really wanted it.
And even although it was in a very, let's say, poor environment, but everybody did that. It really had a good birth. It was put in the cradle, and there was a light and warmth and so on.
And love. And when we go through history, at least in Western Europe, children didn't have a good status. Yes, in Germany we have an educational norm which ended after the Nazi regime, that it is important to break the will of a child before it's 4 years old, for example. And I think the Catholic Church gave the children a soul a few centuries ago. So families that had 10, 12, 13 children, they were not really valuable in this deep sense. They were valuable for
So later
taking
for
care
so
of
for
of the parents later. And I think there is a change now that we know that the child is a present and it's a jewel, right? But this hasn't been like that for the last centuries, or even for 1, 2, 3,000 of years. So the Christmas story really comes out of this.
Okay, so we
It's a
can take
praise.
this as an example. We take the content of the story, that there's a child that is really praised and beloved, and so has the optimal start into its life.
Yes. And as you know, I'm a Jungian psychologist. For me, it's a very mythological story with a lot of symbols. And the kings came and they gave them presents. And this is very important, that the child gets praised and they get presents into the cradle. And the angels come, and the sheep and the deer and whatever, so that this whole environment is sort of supporting this child with material and immaterial goods and protection to grow.
And even the universe is there, because
And
the stars are also in the right constellation and everything.
Yes, we had this quote by Albert Einstein, that it's very important to decide for a friendly universe, and the universe in the story of Christ's birth is very, very friendly. So if you want to imagine yourself in a beautiful birth cradle, then take this image of Jesus and imagine that's you. That's your inner child.
And this is actually the video is about that. We're gonna broadcast on the first Christmas day next Tuesday. This video is about actually that you are this child is going to be born, and that you take the Christmas story and you convert it into your own story. I think this is something really special. So you look forward to it, and you hope you enjoy it. Okay, and the other thing is also, I think, in this story, what you can learn from the Christmas story is also in this relationship, which is very often materialized in images, in paintings, in sculptures, is this view between the Mother Mary, and the child. Also in other places you find it. It's what we call this intimate look or intimate gaze that is there between the mother and the child. What is this? Why is this so important?
This is very important. You have it when you're a mother and you look at the young baby. It's a view, we would say, from soul to soul. You look into the eyes and you're sort of like surrounded in this sort of holy moment. And you have this with a lover too, that you look into the eyes, and it seems as if you look into the eyes of love. And you know, in this view, that your brain networks in networks of trust and deep confidence. So if you want to feel more trust and confidence, just look people directly into the eyes until you meet the bottom of their soul. This
Beautiful.
is very good for learning how to trust again.
Well, and it's very healthy apparently, because so it's really good. So this is also something that you can practice any day. So we give this to you as a practice for the week, as preparation for the video on the Christmas, on the birth of your rebirth. And well, you also can prepare yourself by watching the video that we mentioned about letting go all of your emotions. And then after this video on the Christmas Eve, tiding joy and the
glad tidings of joy.
Yes. And yes, so we have this here. So we will have on Christmas glad tidings of joy, a story of your new birth. So this will be a video, and 1 week later, so on New Year, we will have then an imagination by Alexandra, which is really then now the journey to your inner child. It's a 1 hour imagination. It's really you can wrap up the old year, you can start the new year with it, because it's gonna give you the access to your inner child. You can close your eyes and really meditate and imagine this travel, this voyage to your inner child.
It's a 1 hour journey, and it goes very deep and goes very far back to really reinvent your life anew.
So we will broadcast it on January 1st. It will be also on YouTube, then the week afterwards on Facebook, and will be also on YouTube for some time. And so really this is our gift to you for the end of the year and for the beginning of the new year.
Exactly, for the new beginning.
So with this, we wish you all the best for all these forthcoming holidays and for the end of the year, and a very, very, very good start into the new year.
And I wish you a holy, healing year. Open your heart and start.